Hello guys, welcome to Knowledge India once again. In this tutorial, we are going to talk about AWS CloudFormation. We will go ahead and understand what CloudFormation service is, how it can help us, and we'll also try to uh, take a look at a template. Uh, as part of the demo, we'll understand various parts of the template and then we'll go forward. So first of all, why CloudFormation? Now, you have seen different other tutorials on AWS and you understand that you can go ahead and create lots of services on AWS. For example, let's say you are setting up an environment for one of your project development or product development. Let's say it has got 4 EC2 instances, different security groups. It has a VPC, subnets, it has got RDS and so many other things, right? So you create the dev environment first of all. Once you have set it up and you get necessary okay from all the stakeholders, it could be a project manager, security team and everything. Once you have gotten okay, you would want to have the same standard or the same rules uh, followed in the next environment as well. For example, when you are setting up test environment, you would want to ensure that each and every rule, the way it was set up in the security group and network ACL level, the same things are followed. Same AMI IDs should be used for your EC2 instances and so many other things, right? There's a lot of repetition work. Now, if you go ahead and do it manually, there are chances of error. Hence, we need to go ahead and automate this stuff in order to save our time and also to make sure that the standards are followed from one environment to the other. That is where CloudFormation comes in. Now, CloudFormation as a service gives you the ability to create a complete AWS environment which consists of different resources or different services with the help of a template. So you can go ahead and describe your complete environment into a JSON template and use this JSON template to basically create all the resources whenever you want. So there are two terminologies or two definitions which you should know here first. It is template and stack. So as I told you, template is nothing but a collection of a collection of all the resources which you want to create. It will contain all its attributes, etc., and few more things which we'll talk about. When you feed this template to CloudFormation engine, all the resources get created, and the collection of all these resources is called a stack. You can go ahead and further, once your work is done, you can go ahead and delete the complete stack, and CloudFormation will take care of deleting all the resources which are created as part of the stack. So let us go ahead and get started, and as we move forward, we'll be able to understand the different things which are shown currently, right? So I'm there in the management console, and you can see I'm there in the CloudFormation dashboard. Now, the first question is, how do I write that template which we're talking about, right? So I have a template pre-written here. I'll expand this and explain you. But the question that how do you write it on the first hand, you can go ahead and use any JSON editor to type it out. And when you're new, it would be a bit difficult. So in that case, there is a designer given here. There are a few third-party tools available as well, which you can, things like Visual Ops, IO, and there are a few more. But here is one. So for example, if you want to create, let's say, an EC2 instance, you can go ahead and drop an EC2 instance here. And below you see, as part of automatically few things are getting generated. What is this type of resource? It is AWS EC2 instance, right? So for every resource there is a type, and this you can find out in the CloudFormation documentation. Now it gives you, this designer gives you some amount of intelligence as well. For example, in order to write its properties, I can go ahead and basically type it out, right? Something like this. It says to refresh. If I refresh, it should be okay, right? So in this way you can go ahead and write it. It helps you, and then save it. Next is, which is even better, so you will use this designer if you're writing from scratch. In case you have one environment created, as I was telling you, let's say you have a dev environment created already, okay? And now what you want to do is you want to create a template out of that environment, then you can use this tool called CloudFormer. Now it is very simple. You press on this and then you just press next. It will ask your username, password. You can give whatever you want, and it will set up a small EC2 instance, and on that CloudFormer tool would be deployed. You can go ahead and use it via browser, and it will point to one of your VPCs, one of your regions which you choose, and all the resources within that region would be showcased. You can just go ahead and check them, basically select them with a simple checkbox, and at the end of that wizard, you will get a complete cloud formation template that will have all the resources which you have selected. Now you can go ahead and maybe just reuse it directly, or edit it a bit in order to use it for different environments like test, demo, etc. Right? So now what I'll do is I have a small template which I'm gonna use, and I'll explain you how does it work. So first of all, let me show you that template. So here's the template, and there are different sections within that. So you can see there's a description which just basically tells you that what it is about. Then we have parameters, mappings, resources, and outputs. So quickly going here, resources, of course, as you can guess, is the very important section which basically tells that what are resources you want to create. What are we creating here? Here we are creating two resources, a security group actually, and a web server. Let me show you, expand and show you. So this is a logical name, web server security group. You can write whatever name you want. What type of resource it is? AWS EC2 security group. There's something called deletion policy. So you can see I have given a deletion policy here, and I have given the value as a retain. This is optional. Now if you give deletion policy for a particular resource, what happens is this policy gets applied when the stack gets deleted. So as when I go ahead and feed this template, as part of the stack, two resources will be created. One is the security group, another is the web server below, which you can see, right? So basically an EC2 instance and a security group. Now when I go ahead and delete that stack, because for the security group I have told us the deletion policy as retain, EC2 instance will go away, but the security group will remain there, right? So that is the thing. You may choose not to give it, of course. Next are the properties. You can see I've given a description for the security group, and also security group ingress, basically inbound role, where from and to, the port range is 3389, only one port, so the same values in from and to port. The protocol is TCP, and CIDR I'm using something called ref. What is this ref? Ref is a construct which you use to refer any parameter or some other resource within the template. So see, I'm referring a parameter called SSH location. We can go ahead and find this parameter above. It is defined. So I'll come here in a while, and then after security group, we also have an instance, an EC2 instance. For that we have written a resource and its properties. I'll come back here in a while. I'll go to the parameters, and I'll show you the different parameters. Now why do you use parameters? First of all, let's say you have created a template out of your dev environment, right? And it has all these details, all the EC2 instance details, security group, and all of that. Now you might want to change one or two attributes of these resources when you create next environment. Maybe you want to change the instance type of your EC2 instance. When you create the test environment, you want a bigger instance, for example. In such cases, you may go ahead and either update the instance type value, or you may go ahead and parameterize it, so that once the user tries to create the environment using this particular template, the user would be able to pass the real value or the needed value at the time of execution. So you need not hard code it in the template, rather you define it as a parameter, and it would be asked from the user at the time of execution. Okay, so here we have defined three parameters. You can see key name. So key name, first of all, just a description, right, that which key pair you want to attach with this EC2 instance. Next is type. Now you can go ahead and give a parameter a simple type like a string or number, or you can make it an AWS defined type as well. When you make it as an AWS defined type, the good thing is user will not get option to write in the text box. Rather, user will be able to choose from the existing resources of such type, which means when I go ahead and execute this template, for the key name parameter, automatically all the keys from the given region will be shown to me in the drop down, and I can just go ahead and choose one from the drop down. I need not type it, right? And hence no error also. Next is instance type. So in case of instance type, you can see type is a string. There's a default value which you can specify. You can also give allowed value. So basically these things will come in the drop down. If you don't give allowed values, it will be a simple text box. You can also give some constraint description. If person gives something wrong, this will be displayed. Third is the SSH location. You can see min length, maximum length is given. So you can specify the minimum and maximum length for that. Type is a string, so it is going to be a text box. There's a default value which will appear there, and also there is an allowed pattern. Basically, a regular expression is there for the validation purpose. In case you write something incorrect, you will be notified, right? So we have got 3 parameters. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next stuff. So I explained you that you use parameter for those values or for those attributes which you don't want to hard code in the template, rather you want user to provide it at the time of execution. Now there are another set of parameters which normally change, but based on certain other value you can find it out. For example, if you want to create an EC2 instance with Windows Server 2008, if you want to create Windows Server 2008 in Oregon region, you would know what would be the AMI ID. In the same way, if you want to create it in the North Virginia, you would know what would be the AMI ID. So you can go ahead and create a mapping, basically a kind of table of your values. Right, so you can go ahead and create a mapping where you'll say if the value is X, you have to return Y. If the value is X1, you have to return Y1, something of that sort. So we have created 2 mappings here. Let's see, this is the name of the first mapping, AWS instance type to architecture. What it does is it takes a particular instance type value and returns an architecture value. For example, if T2 micro comes, it will return HVM64. If T2 large comes, it will return HVM64 and things like that. Then we have one more mapping which takes region, okay, which takes region as the input, and region is the input, and this thing also basically the architecture, and for that it will return the correct AMI ID. So if you see, I can go ahead and run this template in any region I want, right? I can go ahead and run it in Oregon, in North Virginia, and Tokyo, and based on the region in which I'm executing this and the instance type which I will choose, which is above here in the parameter section, those 2 things will be used and the correct AMI will be picked up. How? Let me show you below. So I'm just going to minimize this, and I will show you the resources section, the web server. In web server, you see the first thing, which is image ID. Now we are going to use the mappings which we have created above as part of image ID. You can see the image ID for the basically the AMI ID for this EC2 instance is not hard coded here. Rather, we are finding it dynamically with the help of mappings. So first, let's start from inside. There's a function called find and map. This you use whenever you are trying to refer any mapping. So we give AWS instance type to architecture, and in this we are passing the instance type, ref instance type. So whatever instance type user is passes as part of the parameter, that instance type will be passed to this mapping, and the architecture for that we will get, right? So if you see this particular thing, instance type to architecture, let's say somebody passes T2 micro, and the architecture, which is the next thing, HVM64 will be written. Okay, so that comes here as part of this much, and then that value and the AWS region gets passed to the outer mapping, and that gives us the actual AMI ID. You see AWS region. Now you might be thinking, what is AWS double colon region? This is a pseudo parameters which you don't have to define, rather you can just use them as such. For example, region, account number, these things you don't have to define. While you are executing your CloudFormation template, it is intelligent enough to understand that in which region you are executing, and also what is your AWS account, right? So we can just use it with ref AWS double colon region. This will give us the current region in which it is getting executed. We have already got the architecture. We'll pass these 2 things here. Let's say US West, US West 1, HVM64, it will pick this AMI ID and it will return. Now that AMI ID comes and gets substituted here, right? So that becomes the instance, this EC2 instance AMI ID, right? So we did not hard code it, rather we found it dynamically based on multiple things. Good enough, right? So we understood parameters, we understood mapping. So you will refer a parameter with the ref construct, ref, and then you put the parameter name, and for mapping you use function find and map. All right, so we understand that how did we get the AMI ID. Next is instance type. So you can see the instance type directly we are taking ref instance type. We have three parameters at the top: key name, instance type, and SSH location. Key name is getting used further in the EC2 instance. Instance type you saw just now. SSH location we had used in the security group. You see in the security group from where like from what all IP addresses, or from which range of IP address person would be able to send traffic on 3389, that we are passing here as in the form of CIDR IP, right? So SSH location we have given. And so after instance type, next is what security group will be attached to this EC2 instance. You know that there needs to be a minimum security, one security group with every EC2 instance attached. So we have given security groups, and we are doing ref, and we need not know the ID of the security group which we created above. We can just give its logical name here. That's it. It will get attached. Third, and the last thing here is key name. We are giving ref, and we gave the key name, which is the parameter above. That's it. So that is your resources section. So you understood that how did we use parameters, mappings, and then in the resources we use those things. Last section and very important section is output. Now you may want to return back certain values in the output section. Why would you want to do that? Though it is possible that if you are executing a CloudFormation template from the management console, you can go and look at the various properties of all the created resources like EC2, security group, etc. from their own dashboards as well, right? But the output section becomes very useful in case you are trying to execute or invoke your CloudFormation template via code. Let's say you have written a Java application, and as part of that Java.NET application, you are trying to invoke the CloudFormation template. Now, whatever is being written in the output section, these values can be read by your Java code, and that can be used further to do certain things. For example, you might be creating a relational database service RDS as part of your CloudFormation template, and you pass the RDS endpoint here in the output section. Your Java code accepts it and probably takes username password as well, and connects to that RDS Oracle or MySQL and creates a set of DDL TML statements. In this case, you see I am returning instance ID of the EC2 instance. With every service, right, be it EC2, RDS, etc., there will be few parameters which you cannot know while creating the instance. For example, the instance ID, for example, the public IP of your EC2 instance. In the same way for RDS, the endpoint which you use to connect to the RDS, that you cannot know before the RDS creation gets completed. So you can use output section to return all such values. All right, so now that we have understood the structure of this template, we will go ahead and we will try to execute this one. So we are here, and I have explained to you about the cloud designer, and CloudFormation template designer and the CloudFormer. Now we'll go ahead and say create a new stack, and we can go ahead and choose this template. Okay, so let me go ahead and choose this. So you can press you can basically select that file from your desktop. If you have it somewhere on your S3 bucket, you can give that path as well. And when you choose it, this also actually this CloudFormation service will go and upload it to the S3 template first, and then it will go ahead. Please pay close attention here. So it takes and uploads, and basically the path had come there. Now I can go ahead and give it a name just to identify it. Let's say this. All the values you remember, if you remember here in the instance type, these allowed values were there, and there was default one that is being shown here, right? I can go ahead and choose anything which I want. I can give a key name. In this region I have one key name that is being shown, and I can give a SSH location. The default one is being shown. Let me just try to change it so that we can validate this. Sorry. All right, and we'll say next. I can go ahead and give some tag values as well. Let's say dev, let me call it environment. I'm giving the value dev. What is this permissions IAM role? It might be possible that the user with which you are currently logged in, right, that user has CloudFormation related IAM access, right? But as part of the template, you might be creating EC2, RDS, and so many other services. If your current user doesn't have permission to launch those services, right, for example EC2 run instance and things like that, you may also go ahead and use another role. So you can go ahead and choose a role which has permission to basically launch all such resources. If you want, you can do that. Let's go to this advanced section. You can also choose to have a notification. You can choose you can create a new topic, or you can choose one of the existing topic. Once the creation is complete, you will get a notification. You can set up some timeout, after which it will just abort everything. Rollback on failure by default it is yes, which means if any error happens during the creation of any resource, it will just roll back everything. You can override this as well. You also have something called stack policy. What is a stack policy? Now, once you create a stack, you can further go ahead and update this as well. Sometimes you might want to lock some of the resources basically, so that when some update is happening, those resources do not get updated by mistake, right? So you can define a stack policy here. There is a detailed documentation available. You can read about the stack policy here. For example, in this simple stack policy, they are allowing update on other things, on other resources, but on one resource they have denied it, so that thing cannot be updated. So you can basically go and do such things. So we'll go ahead and say next. You can just review all of this and say create. So creation has started. You'll be able to see its details below, like what is the overview. I did not give any IAM role. Output, nothing has come yet. It will come. All the resources. So it is creating first resource, which is security group. Next is events which are happening. Template which I have passed. What parameters I have given. Tags if I applied anything. Now these tags which we have applied, these will automatically go, and these tags will be propagated and applied to all the resources which are getting created as part of this stack. So if you remember, as part of cost allocation tags we have discussed, if you go ahead and basically make this tag as the cost allocation tag, these values will be there on all the resources created as part of the stack, and all of this will flow to the detailed billing file, and you can go ahead and break down the cost for for different environments or for different cost center in that way. Stack policy, we have not set up anything. What is change set? Let's say once this stack is created, you want to update the stack. You will go ahead and update the template, and you will try to apply here. So this change set as a feature, first what it does, it will display what all changes will come to your environment. You can go ahead and read about it. There's a blog entry of 29th March 2016 which explains this. So when you apply the new template, it will go ahead and basically analyze, and it will tell you what all changes will come. Once you are okay with it, you can go ahead and just execute it, though it is an optional step, but it helps you, of course. Let us see here. Okay, looks like everything is created. Both the resources are created. You can see in the output section our instance ID also has been displayed. Now let me just go ahead and look here to my EC2 instance. Yeah, here is the thing which is created as part of this. You can go and look at the tags. Some of the AWS internal tags are used. All AWS colon are all AWS internal tags. Okay, and this is the one which I had passed at the stack level. It is replicated here. You can go and look at the security group. So this is the security group which is created. Good. Let's look at the security group. This is the security group, and this also tags environment dev has come, and in the inbound rule 3389 is open from the CIDR block which we had passed. You can verify it here. This we had passed as the parameter, so correctly it has come here, and this is the security group which is attached here, right? So great, we have created the EC2 instance, we created the security group, and it is attached there as well. And uh, all of this as part of one stack. We can go ahead and just now delete this. While we are deleting, I will just show you one thing again. Normally when we delete the stack, everything will go away, but here we had done a change. For the security group, we had told deletion policy to retain. So security group will remain there, other things will go back, will go away. So I'll just go ahead and say actions, and I'll say delete the stack, and it will try to delete. Let's see. Let's look at the events. So it should try to delete. Ideally, it should delete the EC2 instance, and it should leave the security group to be there. So it is deleted, and hence it is not available here anymore. Let me see, in deleted it should show up. Oh yes, it is showing this one which just got deleted. All right, so I can show you here. So the EC2 instance is terminated and the security group is still there though. All right, so great. I'll just go ahead and get rid of this. We don't need it. So gone. So guys, here's the thing. What I would suggest is uh, that you should go ahead and read more about CloudFormation. I've tried to cover some of the stuff which should be helpful for you to get started. So go ahead, use CloudFormer, create few things, use CloudFormer and generate the template, and then play with it, and then try to create again as part of CloudFormation. Try to use T2 micro instances, and it will not cost you anything. In addition to that, so CloudFormation is really helpful to go ahead and automate your infrastructure deployment again and again. Now I will be covering few more things related to CloudFormation in a different tutorial. For now, I think this is good. Go ahead and start practicing. If you liked it, go ahead, share this with your friends, and like the video. I request you to subscribe, and I thank you for watching this. Bye bye.